Are we ready? It's time for Proust, Part 2. All right, I've been a busy reader this week. You'll be proud of me. I read 265 pages of Marcel Proust's great work, Remembrance of Things Past. And as you can see, I'm about halfway through the first volume. It's coming very well. I'm almost done with the first book, which is called Swan's Way, first of 7. It's coming along very good. The second half of the first book is occupied by a section called Swan in Love. And this is mainly about an old love affair that this character Swan has had a long time ago. Now, what do you do when you're analyzing a book that doesn't really have a plot? What I'm doing is I'm starting to pick up on themes. And now I'm really sounding like a real literary critic, because this is what literary critics do. They don't talk about what happens in the book, they talk about the themes of the book. So that's what I've started picking up on. And the real theme of the book is memory. Memory comes back again and again and again. You remember from last time, the whole events of the book started off when he was reminded of his youth by the smell of a cup of tea when he couldn't sleep. In this second half, Swan in Love, the whole events of the part of the book took place before the narrator was born, but he talks about being told this story, and he's now internalized it to such a degree that he feels like he can remember it himself. And that's a very good observation, I think, because that happens. That's happened to me. I've been told things that I feel like I can now remember as if they happened to me, even though they didn't. It's an interesting point about memory and how memory works. Now, there's another part in there where he hears a phrase of music, a piece of a sonata, and it's something that he had heard years ago, and he couldn't remember who it was by. He was trying to find out the composer, but he couldn't find out, and he hears it, and instantly it's brought back to him. He's like, that's the piece of music I've been looking for all these years, and then he finds out who composes it, and that's a big part of the second book. The second book is, or the second part of the first book, rather, is contrasted with the first, whereas the first takes place in this rural Cambrai area, which is like an estate out in the country, and it's all very peaceful and pastoral and bucolic. And the second half is very much concerned with high society. The Swan is always going to these big parties, hanging out with these society people, going to the opera, going to the theater, these sorts of things. And music remains a big theme throughout. Music is mentioned many, many times in the second half here. Now, the events concern this really toxic love affair that he had with this woman named Odette. He was way more into her than she was into him, and she was always running off and seeing other people and not really thinking about him or his feelings or what was going on with his life. And this caused him to get very jealous, very possessive, and the more jealous and possessive he got, the more withdrawn she got. She's lying to him all the time. He gets mad that she lies. He confronts her. It's a big fight. It's very unpleasant. Story about how love can sometimes happen, and I'm glad it was very uncomfortable. I'm glad it's over. But towards the end of that, there's a part where he hears that same theme from the sonata I was talking about again, much later, and it reminds him involuntarily of his early days of being in love with her and how much better it used to be back when they first started seeing each other. And that's another instance of memory coming up as a theme in the book. So I'm assuming this is going to continue. I'm excited to see how I'm actually enjoying this book quite a bit, despite the lack of plot. I'm excited to see how the memory theme continues and manifests in other ways. I've got about 50 pages left in Swan's Way. There's one more section called Place Names. I don't really know what that's about yet. And then I'll be finished with that, and I'll move on to the second one. So I'll be sure to update you on how it goes. Catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. Please check out my books on Amazon.com. I've been Logan Albright, and you've been wonderful.